What's up, world? This is your boy Tommy Mab, and I came to give my thoughts on the whole situation with the Nets, Lakers, and the NBA in general. But let me first start out by saying there's nothing more annoying than a false narrative. You know what I'm saying? False narratives are probably the most dangerous thing in the world, right? Because a false narrative can lead a person to do whatever you need them to do, right? If you use a false narrative well enough, you can get people, you can get someone to kill someone, right? So I'm very, very observant and mindful of false narratives, right? One that just came up was Kyrie Irving after the Boston Celtics game, coming out saying, so much for people saying saying that the Celtics players hate you. Well, first and foremost, just because I dislike you doesn't mean I'm going to disrespect you. That means if you come up to me and say, oh, how you doing? How's the family? I'm going to say, F you, dude. Don't talk to me. You know what I'm saying? To me, it just comes off as weird. He went out of his way to go and say what's up to a lot of these players. Some of them walked up to him as well. But just just because a person chooses to be respectful or cordial does not mean that they want you on their team. So problem I have with Kyrie Irving is that I don't mind someone saying dumb shit, right? Like Kobe Bryant said dumb shit sometimes, especially early in his career, and when the situation was Shaq, he said a lot of dumb things, but he was at least man enough to put it in the mindset that they both, that him and Shaq both made some stupid decisions. Problem I have with Kyrie Irving is a narcissist. So he's incapable. Like, that's what people don't understand. Like, the difference between a sociopath, and a narcissist is very thin. You know what I'm saying? A sociopath is just the type of person who has no empathy. I don't think that, I used the word sociopath before, but I don't think that Kyrie Irving is a sociopath. I think he has empathy for other people. I think he's a narcissist, which is a better, more apt label for him. A narcissist is someone who sees the world, or the majority of people in the world, is beneath them. Not beneath them in value, but beneath them in importance, in ability to assess the universe around them. So, in his narcissistic mind, people aren't on his level to understand his behavior. When the truth of the matter is he's just a spoiled brat who, whenever he doesn't get what he wants, he throws fits. And the problem I have with Kyrie Irving the most is he loves to put his name out there, right? He loves to, when they're winning, he wants to be the face of the organization. But watch when they go on a 4 or 5 game losing streak, and watch how quickly he starts to fade to the back. You'll see him with his hood over his head. You see, and I'm not saying anybody is happy when they're losing, because no one is happy when they're losing. But what I have a problem with is when they start winning, he's always at the forefront, right? You know what I'm saying? But when they start losing, then it's everybody else's fault, right? And that's the problem I have with Kyrie Irving. The problem I have with the Brooklyn Nets in general is the media, right? As I said before, it's all about narrative. The media always has to create a nemesis for the Lakers. So this year it's the Nets and the Clippers, right? Clippers are not as good a sell after what they did, even though I think the Clippers are a better team, quite frankly, than the Nets are. But the difference is the Clippers are not a good enough sale anymore, because the majority of people saw them lose so lacklusterly in the game against in the series against the Nuggets, so they can't really sell them as much. The Nets are new, you know what I'm saying? They got LeBron's ultimate nemesis in KD, you know what I'm saying, his old partner. It's a better storyline with the Nets, you know what I mean? So you got LeBron's old partner in crime. Now he's with his greatest rival. It kind of has a poeticness to it. So it's easy to sell that. But the truth of the matter is, if you watch the Nets, they're the Rockets. They're pretty much just the Rockets. especially with KD not on the floor. They're pretty much just the Rockets. So I am not surprised, and I tell people this over and over again. D'Antoni's system is a system that works really well in the regular season. And people always say, well, they get into the postseason and James Harden can't get those same foul calls and James Harden can't. No, they're playing better teams, right? So when you lose to one good team and then you beat 3 or 4 bad teams, then all of a sudden you look like a good team, right? You can even go to a stretch where you beat 2 or 3 good teams in a row if your shot is falling, because it's really just about shooting. They shoot with like 15, 19, like somewhere between 15 seconds on the shot clock almost every time they take up a shot. When you're doing that, it kind of puts a lot of pressure on you to score, right? But if you are scoring and you're playing another team that is an up-tempo team that is trying to get up and down the court and score fast, you can really start ripping off points fast if that other team is you're such a terrible defensive team that other team just keeps kicking it out and they're getting all these wide open shots. They're missing them, but they're getting a lot of wide open shots. So they're taking faster shots, and then you're running back and shooting in 15 seconds. So a lead can be evaporated fast. Now, when you're playing a team like the Suns with Chris Paul, the Rockets with the Lakers with LeBron, the 76ers with Joel Embiid, the Heat with Jimmy Butler, that can slow you down, make you play half-court offense and half-court defense, they're going to struggle. I see this coming, and I just sit and I watch, because I know it's like when you remember that boxer Tommy Morrison, right? A couple years ago. He's a white guy, right? He's like this steroided white guy, and he used to like knock out people. And he's a talented fighter. Like, you can watch him fight. He has a lot of skill, but he was knocking out tomato cans, right? So at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, you start to realize that guy runs into a guy who actually knows how to box, he's gonna be in trouble. Same thing with the Bronze Bomber, right? When you knew the minute he came across a guy who could box, he was in trouble. He ended up running into Tyson Fury. He lost, right? It's so common when you see that. And when you watch the Nets, they're not a great basketball team. They have a up-tempo style that is hard for a team to prepare for when they don't have the time to prepare for that. Right? When you don't have time to sit down and because when you're playing to a team in a series, you can make the proper personnel decisions. You see, the problem with playing a team like that in the regular season is I can't take my forward and put him at center and get him used to getting reps at center, right? I can't do that because I'm going to have another game against a big center next week, and then the next game, and that guy is not going to play at center in that game, right? So I have to have players that can play against all types of teams. I can't specifically make a player do something because I'm playing 4 games straight. When you're playing in a series, it's different. Now I can take that forward, practice him purely at playing center for 4 games, and now the advantage you thought you had, you no longer had. I mean, you can watch the way they played the Celtics the first time and the way they played the Celtics the second time. It was a way closer game the second time they played the Celtics. Why? Because the Celtics had film of the last time they played them, and they didn't have Kemba Walker. So now it was Kemba Walker's first game back. So now Kemba Walker has to get used to the way that they play. And the Celtics have to get used to, as a group, have a little more experience playing against that team. Now, the third time they play them, they're probably going to have KD, so it's going to be even more of a flux. So it's just a confusing dynamic right now because the Nets lineup is constantly changing. Most people are expecting them to change their style anyways because KD is not there. So your understanding is that style is going to get changed at some point, right? Defensively, they are porous with Kevin Durant on the field, and people don't understand that. Kevin Durant is not the greatest perimeter defender, right? He's a good help defender when it comes to being off the ball. But as a pure defender on the perimeter, he is a liability. So because he's a liability, not a liability, he's okay. He's just not great. So you put a really talented, you can't put, basically, simply put, you can't put him on the same type of person you can put a Bruce Brown or a Jeff Green on, right? He's just not. He's not that type of. He's too tall, so he can't play. He's too tall and he's too slender, so he can't play defense to the level of a LeBron. You know what I'm saying? Or a Andre Iguodala. He's just not big enough. So now when you put him out there once again, and I know I keep going to this well because it's just the truth. You insert him back into the lineup, you have a problem. Right? Because now, no matter what the situation is, you want to have at least KD and I mean at least two of the superstars on the court. The problem is that the Nets are so fixated on offense that they don't have. You're not gonna have a Bruce Brown and a Jeff Green on the court at the same time anymore. Now you might have a Kevin Durant and a Bruce Brown. You might have a Kevin Durant and a Jeff Green, but you're not gonna have all three either. Because if you put those two on, you're taking out at least two offensive potentials. You got to take out Joe Harris, Kyrie Irving, or James Harden for Bruce Brown and Jeff Green to play. Now you can go and put Kevin Durant at the 5 and play those two, but now you lost rim protection and you lost post. Now you lost post defense because Kevin Durant is food if he's playing Jokic. He can't guard him. He's a 3. He's more of a 3 than he is at 5. So he's gonna get manhandled because he's just too skinny and too small. So the point I'm making is like you can pick your poison with that, right? Kevin Durant brings more problems than he does solutions in that dynamic not because Kevin Durant, but because Kyrie Irving and James Harden are such terrible defenders. So because they're such terrible defenders, and what making me so angry now is the narrative. Like I said, they'll get you with false narratives. The Brooklyn Nets on most nights are still giving up 120 points a game. Easily still giving up 120 points a game. Right? Because of their style of play. Right? Their style of play and the games where the team doesn't score 120, it's generally because they miss a lot of shots. Wide open shots. The Celtics did this again on Sunday. On the last game. And this is the thing I keep telling people. When your defense is dependent on people missing butt naked wide open shots. Watch the Lakers. Watch the Suns. Watch the 76ers. Watch the Clippers. People are not getting wide open, standing at the three-point shots. That happens once or twice a quarter. With the Nets, almost every single time you come down the court, you end up with a wide open shot. Now, you can make the mindset, you can make the argument that, hey, their offense puts so much pressure on you on offensively that you feel more pressure to make your shots, so that may lead people to miss a lot of shots. That's a fair statement to make, but it's not going to work when you're playing a veteran team. They're going to slow the game down, and they're going to always end up with a better look and a better shot than you do. When you have a guy like a Doc Rivers, and you're playing a team that's led by LeBron James or Chris Paul, they're going to find a weakness on your defense, and they're going to get the most efficient shot. And if they're getting the most efficient shot, now you're stuck in a dilemma, because now you're like, okay, how are we gonna fix this leak? Because they're a better defensive team than we are, right? But we rely more on offense than they do. And we can't stop them on defense. So, as I said before, whenever a team wants to make a run on the Nets, they make it as quickly as the Nets get a lead, they can lose it because of their style of play. So that means if they're up by 3 in 3 possessions, they can be up by 12 because they're just chunking up threes, right? But the Celtics aren't a great defensive team to begin with. So, especially since Marcus Smart has been out, this is really his first game back in a bunch of games. So it's definitely not ideal for the Celtics right now, and they still gave a ran with him. That's with them able to play two primary defenders in the game, and Bruce Brown and Green. They were able to play them together, so it allows you to add some defense. Now I'm not saying Kevin Durant doesn't add some defense. He's just not. He's average at both. He's average. He's below average in the post, and he's average on the perimeter. Meaning there's some people he can guard, and there's some people he can't. So you're gonna find way more matchup problems with Kevin Durant than you are with Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown is smaller, he's quicker, and he's thick. So he can sometimes body up a guy who's maybe 3 or 4 inches taller than him. But by the same token, he's also quick enough to get someone on the perimeter. You say the same thing with Jeff Green. They can squat down and they can guard someone on the perimeter and they can body someone in the post. Kevin Durant can't do that. Kevin Durant is a liability when you take him in the post, and he's not Andre Iguodala. If you put him on the perimeter, he's gonna lose some of those battles. And when you have the person that you got on the perimeter with you is Kyrie Irving and whatchamacallit, you're gonna say, okay, well, we'll take our chances with Kevin Durant one-on-one with our best players, and we'll use our other players to to pick and roll until we get a matchup with Kyrie or James Harden. To me, I think it's just obvious. The Lakers wise, I think the Lakers are in a really good position. As I said before, Kyle Kuzma to me is such a bright spot on that team. People don't understand how valuable he is because they don't understand the game of basketball. They don't understand how often that guy is there to make the right play, the good play, the best play. So I think the hate that he got always found to be unfair. Like really, like every time a man has a bad game, he trends on Twitter. But when he has a good game, nobody's there to say, man, Kyle Kuzma's a great player. And so I think the narrative surrounding him, and I think it's a lot of time from if I can be honest, batshit crazy LeBron fans. Whenever LeBron or the Lakers struggle, they because of batshit crazy Jordan fans, they preemptively try to make excuses for LeBron when at times LeBron does just play bad. So when LeBron plays bad, they have to make an excuse for it, so they need someone to blame, and a lot of times they will scapegoat Kyle Kuzma. And I think this is ridiculous. Kyle Kuzma is a young player who's put in a very, very hard position, where he used to be in a starter, and then you bring him off the bench. Now he's doing that. But I think with Anthony Davis out, he's finding more of a groove in that role. He's finding more of an identity in that role, and I think that he's going to definitely benefit from Anthony Davis being out, because now people, I think, is going to force them to have to play him more, and people are going to have to see what type of talent he truly is. And I think he is a great talent, and I think he's averaging 20 points a game with Anthony Davis out, and that's exactly the Kuzma that we were looking for when I gave my assessment when this whole season started. But anyway, please comment. Let me know what y'all think. Thumbs it up if you like it, and subscribe. All right, y'all. Peace.